Hey, Travis here. Excited to walk you through our workflow process with Lightroom Classic Creative Cloud. We have kind of experimented a little bit with the new Creative Cloud and just find that it's lacking some features that are necessary. So we're still sticking with Classic until the other one kind of steps up their game a little bit with some of the features that we feel like are missing from it. So to get started here, we are going to basically walk through the process of how we get our photos in, how we organize our photos, how we edit the photos, and how we export those for social media and for the web and just sending them to the clients. So I will get started by going up here to File, and I like to create a new catalog for every wedding. I found that by putting a bunch of weddings into one catalog, it starts to bog down your system a little bit. So I prefer to make a new catalog for each couple that comes through. So we're going to create a new catalog, and you'll find a spot on your computer that makes the most sense. We have a folder called current projects that it would go. I'll even oftentimes put it with their photos. So we have a wedding here from earlier, and we're going to put it right here in this folder. And we'll just name it the same kind of date. Hit create. I'm going to go ahead and skip for now. And Lightroom is going to then reset itself. And we'll just wait for it to reload, and it will be a whole new catalog. You won't see any of the photos that were in there before because this will be a brand new catalog that we can use. Now I'm going to go up to File and go to Import Photo and Video, or I could hit Control-Shift-I if I want to do the shortcut. So I'm here now at our folder where we have everything. We're just going to make sure that we are importing only photo clips. Sometimes we'll maybe have some video clips, but we don't need those right now. So I'm going to turn off any video clips that I might see. Everything looks good. Let me just get rid of all of these. Now we have all of our photos. So we're going to go ahead and hit import. And it's going to bring in all of their photos now, and we'll give this a few seconds. It'll take a little bit of time for all these to come in real quick. So it looks like our photos are still importing, but we can do a little bit of work with the ones that are in so far. So let's go ahead and get started with what we have. So I like to make sure that I am looking at all the photos. Sometimes photos get imported in at different times. So it might only be showing the current photos that were imported, but we want to see all of the photos. So I'm just going to click right here to all photographs so I can see everything. And on this wedding, we actually did their rehearsal and their wedding. So there were some photos that were from the day before of the rehearsal. So I'm glad that I clicked that, because then we make sure we have all the photos in there when we're going through them. So the first thing I like to do is to figure out which photos that we are going to keep. What photos might just be, maybe from behind the scenes or something. What photos are the best of the best. And what photos might need some more working done to them other than just a basic color correction. So we'll just start from the beginning of the day. And what I would do is I would start going through. So I double clicked on that, and it actually brings it up on a bigger screen. And then I also have my film strip down here so I can see all the other photos. And what I like to do is get familiar with the keyboard shortcuts, so that way I can maneuver through these pretty quickly. So the main kind of keys that you're going to need to worry about are all your numbers. So I usually have my number keypad, and I will start going through these and figure out which photos we want to keep, which ones we want to eliminate, and so on. So any photo that is, maybe good but not anything amazing, I usually give a 4. So there'll be a lot of 4s that kind of come through, and some of these might actually upgrade to a 5, or they might just get kind of booted down or taken away. But to get started, they're a photo that's probably necessary, maybe looks pretty good, could maybe be used in the future even for marketing or something, but it's nothing that's like going to blow us away, or it's nothing that needs any extra editing. So we'll start going through, and we have some establishing shots of the venue. So I'll hit a 4 so I remember to come back to these. And it'll start going through, and the ones that are redundant I'll usually skip over. So like if we jump back here, we have 2 that are basically the same, so I'll just pick out whichever one looks the best. I'll hit 4, and we don't really need the other one anymore then. Now some photos, it's nice to have some redundance. So you'll see when we get to the formal photos of the family, there could be 3 takes, and maybe someone was blinking in one, and maybe someone preferred their smile in another one or something like that. So we might go ahead and keep all of those just to be safe. Otherwise, we're just trying to kind of eliminate down to 1 of everything. So we'll see that we were actually setting up here. There's a shot back there of my feet, and just trying to get the lighting right and everything. So usually the first few are probably going to be tests, especially when you're dealing with photo and flash, you know, to actually get an idea of what the photo looks like. You got to take the photo. So we might do eliminate those, but then we have this one shot here of the dress. We'll hit a 4. And now with this one, I would probably do a little bit more work to the photo itself. So I'd probably darken the background more so we don't see some of those distracting things and really focus in on the dress. So that is where the color labels come into play. So I'll use my color labels to decide on if I need to come back to it or not. So for myself, if I want to come back to it, I like to use yellow, which would be the number 7 on the keypad. You can use whatever you prefer, but this is kind of my coloring scheme that I follow. And what will be nice about this, you'll see later on, is because not only these are labeled 4, so I can see all the photos that I really liked in a row, I can also see then with the color schemes, you know, which ones needed more work, which ones were my favorite or the favorite. It's just another way to kind of label everything so it's easy to find what I'm looking for. So I'll kind of keep going through here and label any that I might want to keep in there. And I just kind of keep moving and just keep going through the detail shots here to see, you know, what shots we want, what shots we don't want. And, you know, some things maybe it's worth having an extra. So like if the shoes say there's a little bit wider version and a little bit closer version, we can go and keep both of those in there. We would rather have more photos than not enough. And so sometimes you'll even see here there's a handful of the rings. So we might even use like a couple of these kind of closer shots because they're just a little bit different from each other. And then I can always decide if, hey, maybe that shot's not really necessary anymore. We'll just go and cut it out. So like this one, for example, I'll probably mark both of these. We got a wider and a closer, but then I find like the focus is a little soft on one of them or something, or I'm just not a big fan of the angle or the lighting, then maybe one of them will get cut. But I would rather have those options going into it than, you know, cutting out too much at the beginning and then I feel like I'm missing something. So we just kind of keep going through here, and then we got some of the bridal prep here. The girls having a good time and everything, and then we'll jump kind of further along here, maybe some photos that might need a little bit more work. So this would be an example of one that would actually need a little bit more work. And so I would mark it as a 4 because I like it. And this might even be one of their main photos, so it could even upgrade to a 5. Because of that, I'll go ahead and mark it a 5 because it's something maybe I want to be in their album or, you know, something we use for marketing. And then I'll also even mark it with a 6, which is the color red. And then that way, whenever I'm going through, I have the ones that I remember that I really, really liked. And so we have those options there. Now this one, even though I marked it with a red, I'm actually going to mark it with a yellow because there's some work that I would want to do to this photo. In particular, right here, I would want to do a spot removal on this so we can remove that because it's just not really necessary in there. Either that or we would crop it in, one or the other. More than likely, probably a spot removal though. So we'll kind of keep going through here. And we have a few, so you know, anything with the bride, it's sometimes nice to have maybe a few different variations. So like this first one back here, our eyes are closed. You know, this one we have our eyes open, looking away, so we'll probably keep that one too. This one will need a little bit of work because of that shower up there. And then we have some of her looking down at her dress, so we'll probably keep a few of these in there. One with the laughing, one with her looking down at it, one with just like a straight face. So we'll keep going through here, and then we have their first look, some of the photos. So here is an example I want to get to. So when you have a bunch of, you know, kind of similar shots, they're all kind of the same thing. So this is her with all of her bridesmaids individually. So there's a few in there, and they're generally kind of the same thing, a little bit of a head tilt change and everything. So I'll pretty much kind of keep all of these in. Now, you know, like with this one, she has her eyes closed, so we don't really need that shot. But then, you know, this one with them looking at each other, probably not this one because she's fixing her hair, but then this one's kind of fun. And then we'll kind of keep going through all these. We'll come back to these when we get to the editing, but we kind of have a trick to get through these a little bit faster so you're not, you know, applying a preset to every single one of these when they're basically kind of the same image just with different people. That would basically be how you'd be organizing it. And let's say we finally got through all of our photos and we've organized them all and rated the ones that we like and that we don't like. We will then we can then filter everything down here. So I can filter things by, you know, 4, and then you can actually change if you want it to be things only equal to 4, things that are with a rating greater than or equal to 4. So for me, anything that's going to make it into the final is always a 4 or higher. So therefore, I would just kind of eliminate it down to 4 or higher. So then that way I can figure out what I want. But then let's say, you know, we want the best of the best, which were the 5s, then I would just go over here, click on 5 instead, and then, you know, I would have like the ones that we thought were the best that we want to make sure we keep in there. What I would kind of do from here is I would then have all my 4s, which would combine some with yellow, some without yellow, and I would start going through and do the basic color correction.